Alrighty, so we're up to the last thing I did was started looking at quadratic equations and different techniques on how to solve those. So we looked at factorisation, what you've already done in chapter 2, just a further step by solving equations, setting it equal to 0 and finding a solution. The second method I did on last week, whenever our last lesson was completing the square. So again, you've learnt the technique in the algebra section of the course. We took it further to solve equations. That was the purpose why we did those things in algebra. Right, so now we're going to go something a bit easier, a bit more straightforward, and something you hopefully have all seen before, the quadratic formula. If you haven't, let's have a look. So, page 18. Do you want it turned off?
I'm so...
You cold? Yep, you want to go to staff room and turn it off for me?
I'm really looking at what
Yeah.
No, not because I actually hate being cold.
Can annoy him now.
I just like having jumpers, long pants and being covered in clothes.
Alright. Okay, so is there anyone here has not seen this formula before? So you all saw it last year at some point? Cool. Alright, great. Alright, so this formula will allow you to find any possible solutions involving quadratics. Okay, so you can actually do this over factorisation if you wish. Okay, however, you still need to know your factorisation skills, not just for solving equations, but it's also things like simplifying fractions and simplifying expressions in general. Okay, so you do need to know your factorising skills. Right, so there's your quadratic formula. Have you seen the quadratic formula before?
No.
Nope. Right, so this will allow you to solve for any quadratic you have. Right, so let's look at some examples and apply. Right, so these examples I'm up to K, so this is all under the quadratic equation section. Right, so I'm going to use that formula to solve these questions. So typically there won't be a way we can factorise it. Okay, you can do it by completing the square, so we've learned that last lesson. Alright, but if you're not told to complete the square, don't go through all that work, actually go to use this formula. Okay? So, remember our quadratic equations in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, and that's where all your letters come from. Okay? The coefficients in front of your x's as well as the constant term. Right, so what I want everyone to do is actually write down the formula each time. What will happen when you write down b squared minus ac, when you write down the formula, you are actually learning it, okay? You're remembering it every single time. So you should be doing this for your exercises as well. Alright, so formula, substitution, and then the answer. So, this is A, this is B, and this is C. You also need to make sure that you are aware of the signs involved as well. So, minus B. So B is minus 10, but you also need a minus sign out the front. Okay, so what will happen? It will become a minus 10. Okay, because there's already a minus sign in the formula, and B is minus 10, including the sign. Alright, plus or minus, square root. B squared, so negative 10, or squared, minus 4, so 4ac, 4 times a times c. A is the coefficient in front of x squared, which is 1, and c is the constant term. So 4 times 1 times 23, they're both positive. And then all over 2 times the coefficient of x squared, which is 1. Right, so before we go to calculators, let's simplify it. So, 2, hey? No, without the letters. The A, B's and C's are the coefficient in front of the letters, okay? So no letters, because what you're doing is just solving for x. Okay, so equals 10 plus or minus the square root. Right, so negative 10 all squared, which is negative 10 times negative 10, which is 100. 4 times 1 times 23, so 4 times 20 is 80, 4 times 3 is 12, so to take away 92, all over 2. So 10 plus or minus the square root of 8 all over 2. So the question asked you to express your answers correct to 3 significant figures. So we've looked at significant figures in the course as well. You also need to be mindful when the question asks you to leave in third form. So what I'm going to do is going to simplify it down to simplest third form, okay, to show you what you need to do when the question asks you to leave it in third form. And then we'll go and evaluate correct to 3 significant figures. So, in the topic of thirds, we looked at how to simplify things in thirds, okay, by looking for a square number times another number that gives 8. Okay, so what's the square number times another number, and it gives me 8. 4 and 2. Okay, so we're square. So the square root of 4 times 2 all over 2. And then back to our third topic, we simplified these expressions. So 10 plus or minus 2 root 2. So you take the square root of 4, which is 2. That comes out the front. And then root 2 is simplest form that will go. All over 2. Okay. Now, this is not in simplest form yet because I can factorise the top with a common factor of 2. So equal 2 outside of 5 plus or minus root 2 all over 2. So just like your fractions work, when we factorised out, we were able to simplify. Okay, so we can cancel the 2's here and here. So 5 plus or minus root 2 will be the simplest form if you're asked to leave in third form. Okay? That's what you need to go through. Now, the question itself asked you correct to 3 significant figures. So what you need to do now is in your calculator, you need to go 5 plus the square root of 2 will be one solution, and then the second one will be 5 take away the square root of 2 will be that second solution. And we want it to 3 significant figures. So remembering what these things mean. Alright, so we go 5 plus square root of 2. So that's what you get in your calculator, 6.414, so forth. So 3 significant figures are the first 3 digits which are significant, so that's 6, that 4 and the 1. So we need to use that rounding skill after that 1. So we look at the 4th digit, which is 4 or lower, so we leave it the same. So it'll be 6.41, so x is 6.41, and then we need to do the negative root. Okay, so we've got plus or minus because there are 2 possible solutions in most incidents. The 5 take away, square root of 2. Alright, so it's 3 is the first significant figure, 5 is the second, 8 is the third. You need to look at the 4th, so you can round, which is 5. Okay, which is 5 or higher, so just like your rounding skills, you need to add 1 to 58 to round correct to 3 significant figures. 3.58. 5 knots. Okay? So, if you are getting these sort of answers, means it's not so straightforward to factorise, okay, as in whole numbers. You can get these same solutions by doing the method of completing the square, okay, but obviously the quadratic formula will be a more straightforward way to do that. Alright, next one. L. Alright, 5x squared, take away 8x plus 2 equals 0. One of the worst days of the year for me because I'm always teaching here and always bad at it. Alright, so let's write let's write the formula. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, write this down every time when you get up to this exercise, when you're working on this exercise, okay, so that way you'll come second nature. Alright, the more working you show, the better you will understand it. So, A, B and C, including their signs. So, minus B, B is minus 8, so it'll be a minus 8, plus or minus, negative 8 squared, or squared, sorry, minus 4 times A is the coefficient in front of x squared, times 5, and C is the constant term, which is a positive 2, all over 2, and because the leading term is not 1, okay, we need to actually write the value of A on the bottom, okay, so it'll be 10 on the bottom. Right, so at this point you can go to your calculators, okay, and put it in because you're asked specifically to do 3 significant figures. Just keep in mind when it's asking you to leave in third form, you need to tidy that up, and also you need to simplify as much as you can, including your thirds work. Okay, so if you've got something underneath the root that you get the product of a square number and another number, you need to go through that. Okay, so you can go to your calculator straight at this point because you're only asked to do significant figures. So when people have an answer, can you tell me what you get? And I want it to 3 significant figures, please. It'll be 8 plus or minus square root of 24 over 10.
I got 1.28.
Pardon?
I got 1.29.
Is that 3 significant figures? Yeah. Do we agree? 1.29? Pardon? That's for the plus? Yes, can someone else tell me if they agree, please? I'm not just going to rely on Amanda's answer. I'm going to make sure she's correct.
And the negative is just 0.31.
Okay, so 1.29, 0.31. Do we agree?
That positive one.
Pardon?
1.29.
Yep. What about the negative 0.31?
So it's going to be right.
Math error.
Yeah, but
I'll be doing this to everyone. We need to make sure these solutions are verified. Okay, 0.31, do we agree with that one? Yep, great, excellent. Alright, so that's how you use the quadratic formula. So that's exercise 3.9. I'll do the next one and then we'll be able to move on to the next section tomorrow, and you'll have a bit of time today to get some work done or ask a question. That's next section. We've just done equations, we're now doing inequations or inequalities involving quadratic. So inequations are inequalities. Okay, so that's what it says in your textbook. Alright, so back when we did the inequalities note, we had to test those solutions on a number line, testing the region, so that we get the final overall solution. We've got to do the same thing here as well. Alright, so let's solve these. X squared, take away 3x, take away 10, which is greater than 0.
How? What are the settings for it? You just check the settings.
No. Go away. Disgusting. Ew. Ew. Go away. Ew. Disgusting.
I'm used to that sort of stuff now, it just doesn't trouble me anymore.
Does your brother have black socks? That was random. He needs black socks.
Alright, so,
Yeah, you've got a brother. Your brother's Brock. The ginger that plays. That's her brother. I didn't know what
it's amazing what we discover.
The last name is a couple days away.
I didn't even know his last name.
I think the general appearance, I mean, probably would have pointed out that it's probably Nicole's sibling. No? I knew straight away. It would like, I could just see the resemblance straight away. Anyway, so back to this. So you need to treat this like an equation, alright? To treat that like an equal sign, you need to solve. You need to factorise. Okay, so whether you're going to do factorising, you're going to use the quadratic formula, or you're going to complete the square. Okay, so let's do factorising first. Are there two numbers multiplied to give negative 10? Same two numbers add to give negative 3.
Wait, negative 5 plus 2.
Good. Alright, so always looking for that sort of stuff first. So x take away 5, x plus 2 is greater than 0. Alright, these are what are called critical points. And just like we did with the other type of inequations we did. Okay, what critical points mean is you need to check your solution by doing a region on a number plane. So, solving this, the x equals 5 and x equals negative 2. There's one of two ways you can do this. Right, so I might do it on the next page actually. Right, so we have a number line. Let's put all those critical points in there.
Oh, I didn't bring my fancy ruler today.
After the present I gave you. Good.
Where did mine go?
Best present I've ever received.
Hey, I still have this.
Good. Oh, that's something I'll have to get out for everybody else as well, actually. Are you finding the pads useful?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Good.
On Friday morning, we had... Friday morning, we were sitting there, we had the pads and we were using the whiteboard.
Yep.
And then that teacher that we had for a substitute
Yep.
for mathematics the other day, she came in to help us. I haven't really got the full yet because the pages keep falling out.
Oh, so what I gave Kyle, Robin and Michaela on Friday, on Wednesday, yep, I gave them this. Okay, so that'll be your... that was just obviously stuff they can scribble on, work things out before they put it in their books. Okay, so I'll go and get a copy for everyone in here if they would like one, right, to help you with your neatness and your tidiness. It'll actually help me a lot because when I actually go through check your books, I will have a much easier time to follow it. Alright, so that's why I'm doing it. So, I'll get back to this in a moment. Back to that in a moment. Right, so back to what question we're doing. Okay, so these were the critical points, which were the solution if we treated this like an equation. Okay, so x equals 5, x equals -2. What you need to do now is you need to check the validity of those points whenever you have an inequality. Okay, it is not alright to say that x is greater than 5 and x is greater than -2. It may be true, okay, but you actually need to test it and you will get marks allocated just for this test, okay? So, what you need to do is you need to check a point in this region, check a point in that region, or check a point in that region. And, sorry, not all, you have to do this. Alright, so let's go. Test. Right, what's the number less than -2? Alright, so x -3. So the question was x squared take away 3x take away 10, which was greater than 0. So now you need to substitute in for x and show whether that inequality is true or not. So don't forget your bracket, particularly with negative, because you need -3 all squared. You need a positive 9 there. Take away 3 lots of -3. Take away 10. And we want to see if it's greater than 0. It is a positive number. So 9 plus 9, take away 10, is greater than 0. So after you consider your signs, you get 18, take away 10, which is 8, 8, which is greater than 0. Okay, is that a true inequality?
Yes.
Alright, so that means any point in this region works. Okay, so x will be less than -2. Right. A point between a number between -2 and 5.
0.
Someone's been listening. Excellent.
You sure?
Alright, so substitute in. Now, when it's 0, use your common sense. Okay, so you've got 0, take away 0, take away 10. Alright, so you can just go, is -10 greater than 0? Okay, it's not. So therefore, what that means is the point between -2 and +5 does not work. Alright, now thinking you would probably expect a point to work in there. Okay, but we need to justify it. A number greater than 5. Pardon? 7? Alright, so 7 all squared, take away 3 lots of 7, take away 10. We want to check if it's greater than 0. Right, so 49, take away 21, take away 10 is greater than 0, is what we need to justify. Now, -21, take away 10 is -31, so you've got 49, take away 31, okay? 31, so you have 18, is 18 greater than 0?
Hey.
Alright, so yes, that means the point works here. So therefore, x must be less than -2, x has to be greater than 5. Alright, because of the region. Any point to the left of -2 works, and any point to the right of 5 also works. So you need to write your final answer, displaying them with the inequalities there. Are there any questions with that process?
Man, they're cracking down on this internet. I'll tell you that.
This is method 1. There is an alternate method you can use to check these. Some people may prefer it. Anyways, but it's a good work on algebra and substitution and inequality. And you know, about 90 to 95% of your course is algebra, okay? So don't Don't lose sight of these skills that you'll do in the algebra section as well as this section as well. Alright, everyone finished that page? Okay. Yep. Alright, has everyone in here, while Bo's finishing, has everyone in here graphed parabolas? In the format of
I was really bad at it.
that.
Oh yeah,
I've done it.
I probably should have listened more than I did.
I've done it, but I was really bad at it.
Okay, we'll get some practice. There's chapter 5, which is functions and graphs, where we're doing a lot of graphing, and we'll hopefully get better at drawing those graphs. I'll show you some tips, and we'll get there when we get there. Alright, so method 2, so that's method 1, method 2. We can do the graph. Alright, so the critical points, remember, you've already got them. The critical points where x is -2 and x is 5. And the equation, just the quadratic part of it, was x squared take away 3x take away 10. That was the equation of the parabola, of our quadratic, which produces a parabola. Now, hopefully one thing you have done last year when you looked at it, or no, you've done this last year, is if there's the leading term, so the term out the front is positive, you're going to have a concave up parabola. It means it opens upwards. Okay? If there was a negative, it means it opens downwards, concave down. So, let's do a quick sketch. Quick sketch. I'm not marking you on your sketch. Your HC markers will also not mark you on this sketch.
Oh, good.
Okay, because this is just using to help you answer your question. Plot the critical points. You've got 5 and -2. Alright, and then just do some form of parabola that goes through that. Alright, concave up we know, so we've got something like this. That's years of graphing.
So I could do that. That stuff's easy. But the whole shading and...
Okay.
I can't remember. I can do that really easily.
Yeah.
But I remember there was something in it that I couldn't do. And I can't remember what it was.
We'll get to that when we... There's a topic on quadratics. A topic purely on quadratics.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Right, so... The inequality itself was x squared take away 3x take away 10, which is greater than 0. Alright, remember this is the y value. That means you need a positive y value. Alright, so at this, what point on your graph is it above the x-axis? Will give you a positive y value. Okay, that means any point less than -2, you'll always get a y value that is positive. And any point that's greater than 5, you'll also get a positive y value. Okay, so that's the alternate way you can do it, by the sketch.
So you set y equals 0? No?
Yeah, so y is 0. Yeah, exactly. So -2, so x is less than -2, and x is greater than 5. That is the alternate way you can do it.
What are you doing? I'm still doing it.
Oh, she's doing the last question. She substituted it back into the fraction. All you do is you
Yeah,
get...
that's still the equation.
They're like an old married couple, these two.
Oh, you should have seen them the other day.
Where'd you get 6 from?
Oh, that's even...
I have to put it up with them for 2 years, okay? For 2 years. And if they pick extension 2, that's another course I've got to put up with them for. Alright?
Carla doesn't want to do it.
Because she doesn't like being challenged.
One topic.
That's alright, I'm in training, I have a baby, I'm going to be used to this sort of stuff. But when I had Matthew Watts and Cooper Walters, they were just like you two. The amount of bickering they did, I was actually really happy in one sense to them to go, leave, go away, bother someone else.
But really,
So it's 5 minus 2.
Alright, next one. Right, B, last question we're doing today. x squared, take away 11x plus 28, which is less than or equal to 0. So thinking about your graph, when we graph our parabola, when we learn the skills to do that, we are semi-covering it now, okay? But when we do the topic, we'll learn the skills properly. Alright, which part of the parabola is below or, because of the equal sign part of it as well, is on the x-axis. So that is an alternate way to think about it. So what you need to do first, when you have an inequality, you need to find those critical points by factorising. So two numbers multiply to give positive 28, same two numbers add to give negative 11. 7 and 4, both negatives though, because you've got negative 11 here. So x take away 7, x take away 4, which is less than or equal to 0. Alright, and what you're doing now is critical point. Alright, these are your critical points, alright, where you are going to check around. So x equals 7 and x equals 4 when you solve with equal signs for that inequality. Okay, so personally I like the graphs because you are going to be learning this, you are going to be doing graphs, so you may as well do it now. Alright, so let's do a rough number. Mind blank, help me. Number plane. Number plane. Okay, the alternate way you can graph is to do the following. Draw the parabola in there first and then label your intercepts. Okay, draw the parabola in there first and then label the intercepts.
Cool.
Okay, remember you're not getting, this is just to help you with your overall solution. Okay, it is not you getting marked on your graph. Alright? When the question asks you to sketch or graph or something, that's when they're marking you on your graph. So, the original inequality, x squared take away 11x plus 28 is less than or equal to 0. So that means on the x-axis it's got to be below, means we're getting a negative y value. But we also got to remember they will include the point where they intercept the x-axis because it is less than or it is equal to 0. So, x is going to be greater than 4 but still less than 7. Okay, let's do that first bit. So we know that x is going to be greater than or equal to 4 and also going to be x is less than or equal to 7. This is not your final solution. Okay? Because there's two endpoints and everything in between is a valid solution, we're going to write it like this. 4, which is less than or equal to the value of x, which is less than or equal to 7. Have we seen this before?
Yeah.
You have?
Can you sort them out, please?
Hey?
Can you sort them out, please?
Tell her that she's wrong.
Oh.
Be hard way you should go in and test at the moment.
Oh.
Okay, is there anyone in this room that prefers the checking point over the method I've done here?
100% easy.
Yeah,
I like
it does. It looks
like
easy, but I still don't get it.
Okay.
It looks easier that
The first method, it is good on the algebra, the substitution and the inequality skill. Okay, but yes, you'll be doing topics where you are sketching these parabolas. Right, you're also doing topics where you're looking at the quadratic function. Alright, we'll get to that towards the end of your prelim course. But yes, I'm glad to hear that from people. Alright, 7 minutes. Thought I'd be quicker than that. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
3 point. Ooh. Everyone got a technical candy?
Ah, no.
You don't test those.
Isn't that what you're testing?
No, you're testing a random number that's in there.
That's right.
You don't worry about
So, exercise 3.9 on 124. Alright, so, just to finish up, those, you may notice that we skipped 3.10
Yeah.
because 3.10 is mainly an extension 1 exercise.
Oh boy.
Okay, so we'll do that toward the end of your extension 1 prelim course. So, 3.9 and 3.11. Now, I need to collect your books. I'm going to quickly have a look at them this afternoon and get them back to you tomorrow. So you have 6 minutes. If anyone has any questions they need to ask me before the bell goes. Otherwise, before you leave the room, I need your books.
Yeah, so
And you're not staying here all day.
Aw, can I please? That was fun.
Although it's really tempting because I have year 8s next and then year 9s and year 10. Sorry.